Most men walk into a room unaware that their fate is sealed long before they speak. Have you ever wondered why a single encounter can ignite a lasting memory while another dissolves as if it never happened? In the theater of attraction, first impressions are not simply transactions of pleasantries and surface charm. They are silent wars of status, instinct, and unspoken emotion. Before a word escapes your lips, she is scanning the terrain, your posture, your eyes, how you hold tension, your comfort within your own skin. Her subconscious, trained by millennia of tribal necessity, sorts you within seconds. Are you a force to be reckoned with, or will you be forgotten as quickly as the last hollow conversation? The rare man understands this battlefield and prepares not in costume, but in character. His aura is not an accident. It is the harvest of unseen discipline, quiet intention, and the unforgiving honing of self-respect. Watch closely. The first impression he makes is carved not by desperate politeness or sizzle, but by gravity. He enters not to please, but to embody. Confidence is the currency, composure, the signal. Every movement, controlled, deliberate, implies a life lived with purpose, not desperation. Imagine this. You're at the threshold. Her gaze flits over you, searching for weakness or substance. You stand rooted in the storm, as Marcus Aurelius might, unmoved by approval, undisturbed by the prospect of rejection. It is not arrogance that captivates, but the serenity of a man who stakes his value upon nothing external. In a world riddled with performance, your authenticity is a roar in the silence. The lines of your face, unmasked by bravado. Your voice resonant not with need but with conviction. Your eyes observant, a student of the moment, a sovereign within it. Attraction, in its purest form, is the recognition of value, an ancient calculus performed in the shadow of uncertainty. When you radiate a sense of completeness, you awaken curiosity. She realizes instinctively, you are not here to be chosen, but to choose. Your validation is not for sale, your standards unyielding. Like an ancient gladiator who knows that the crowd's approval is fickle, you fix your attention inward, measuring yourself against an internal standard, not the flimsy applause of strangers. She feels it, not in the compliments you offer, or in the easy jokes you rehearse, but in the subtle refusal to seek her validation. You do not shrink from sexual polarity, from the unignorable tension that sparks in the space between masculine presence and feminine energy. You lean subtly forward, meeting her eyes, steady, unapologetic. Your words are fewer, but each one lands, weighted with intention. Through every gesture, you communicate. I am not here to impress, but to see if you impress me. What would you think if I told you that this restraint is your greatest weapon? The irony is merciless. The less desperately you audition for affection, the more power your presence commands. Stoic detachment is not a performance, but a practiced posture, developed one refusal at a time, forged in moments when you could have sought validation and instead built self-reliance. Each small discipline becomes a signature that the world cannot forge, the scent she remembers long after the party ends. Do you dare to challenge her assumptions by standing your ground, by refusing to become one more voice clamoring for recognition? When you do, you become a standard against which all others are measured, not just another competitor for her fleeting attention. She is drawn into the unspoken challenge, finding herself wondering, what truths does he see? What lines will he not cross? Who is the man, unmoved by circumstance, whose certainty does not ask to be believed, but simply exists? In that rare air, you become unforgettable, not by trying to be different, but by having the courage to be genuine. The moment lingers. Her mind wanders back, replaying the finer points of your resolve, the way you stood in your own presence, the feeling of being seen, not seduced. She doesn't know why, but she awaits the echo of your authenticity in every man who follows. He understands what others miss. The first impression is not one moment, but the beginning of a lasting myth. In her mind, your silhouette lives on beyond the night, not as a fleeting encounter, but as an invitation, an open question awaiting her investment. You challenge her, even as you intrigue. Your laughter isn't scattered like coins for cheap approval, but reserved, sincere, and offered only when genuine. She notes the discipline in your gaze, the deliberate cadence of your words, the way you listen, not for an opportunity to steal the spotlight, but with the intent to understand, to weigh, to evaluate. There's a pattern to lasting impact, woven from the threads of masculine autonomy and respectful detachment. Women attuned by evolution notice the man who does not fold beneath their beauty or wit. He stands on the granite of his own convictions. It is not hardness, but rootedness, an inner structure that never collapses to win favor. In the court of first impressions, most men betray themselves, leaping to agree, to accommodate, to please. But the man who enters with standards, who holds disagreement lightly, who can smile without surrendering his backbone, leaves a deeper mark than charm ever can. In every space, your energy is either scattered outwards or cultivated inwards. The man who spills over, eager to be liked, is quickly discounted. The one who preserves his mystery, who gives only glimpses, demands curiosity. You are not reckless with your attention. It is doled out in chosen finite increments. This scarcity increases value, ignites challenge, and sets your presence apart from the blur of hopeful faces and artificial performances. Do not underestimate the significance of masculine calm. In a world teetering on chaos, where nervous banter and hollow bravado dominate social gatherings, the man who is still, who waits out the moment, who observes the emotional temperature rather than immediately reacting, commands attention without uttering a word. Her gaze lands upon you, lingering a second longer. Your reputation grows in the silence between your words. Here is a man who does not fear the world's noise, nor is he compelled to match its volume. Each subtle action, how you stand, the care with which you enter a conversation, the courage and soft-spoken honesty cements her perception. She recognizes, even unconsciously, that you are the rarest of men, those who are neither inflated by female attention nor crippled by its absence. You belong not to the crowd, but to a higher standard of your own creation. In this, the wisdom of Seneca rings true. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Your preparation is not performance. It is principled, consistent, and unshakable under scrutiny. She notices the difference. Where others chase approval, you pursue your own values. Where others edit themselves in anticipation of her reaction, you remain steadfast, unfiltered, respectful, and real. And you offer challenge, a subtle demand that she meet you on the level you've built, not by lowering yourself to appeasement. This is polarity at its most magnetic, and she is drawn ever closer to the gravity of the unknown. So as the night winds down and faces fade from memory, yours remains, not for what you tried to be, not for polished lines or practiced routines, but for the precise opposite. You were there, fully, without apology or need. Her mind turns back to the encounter, to the authenticity that threatened her defenses and called forth something deep within. And when the story is retold, you are the anchor, the standard by which all first impressions are measured and all future men are judged. Every recollection sharpens her awareness that the man who lingers is the one shaped by silence as much as sound. His first impression becomes mythic, not because he fights for position, but because he refuses to compete in trivial games. In the candlelit haze of bar or cafe, under the harsh glare of daylight, he remains unchanged, a man rooted in his own terrain. She senses that he navigates the world by a different map, one drawn not by the expectations of women or the opinions of peers, but by the hand of self-mastery. His gestures are intentional, his speech marked by the patience of one who never hurries to fill the air. This quiet confidence unsettles and attracts, for it signals to her something ancient, a presence for which no easy script exists. It's not bravado that leaves a lasting impression, but the discipline to let tension breathe, to savor discomfort where most seek a way out. The unyielding posture, the unwavering eye contact, and the refined boundaries are the silent armor of the rare man. Each choice whispers, "My world is intact, whether or not you wish to enter." These are the signals that bypass her conscious mind and etch themselves onto her emotional memory. Consider how he handles the subtle tests, the flirtatious jabs, the shifting energy of a crowd, the sudden appearance of competition. In moments when lesser men falter, over-explain, or try desperately to reclaim the stage, he maintains composure through a Stoic lens. Like Epictetus counseled, external events cannot disturb the man whose inner citadel is fortified. A flash of amusement might cross his lips at a challenge, but he never crumbles beneath pressure. This self-command acts as a silent incantation. The women around him respond to the authenticity of his stillness, the men take measure, and all remember. Notice how presence becomes memory, and memory becomes legend. The man who makes a lasting first impression understands that such moments are never only about external display. Rather, they are microcosms of his life philosophy. He has spent countless hours in discipline, crafting his body, refining his wit, educating his mind, building camaraderie among other men of substance. The outcome is not invented confidence, but a living testament to inner work. When he enters a space, his value radiates not as desperation, but as quiet abundance. Women are drawn to a sense of challenge, a man who offers not approval, but opportunity, not comfort, but possibility. She recalls the firmness of his standards in every conversation that falls short thereafter. When others placate or pander, she remembers the one who called her upward, who allowed the polarity to sing its true note by refusing to diminish himself. Each thought of him becomes a question she asks herself. What would he think of this? How would he respond? Most never grasp this truth. The lasting impression is not forged in the frantic pursuit of being liked, but in the calm pursuit of purpose. The most magnetic energy is not, please choose me, but I choose my standards and live them openly. When you embody this mindset, first meetings are transformed from a performance into a declaration of essence. You emanate value and invite her curiosity, not by wounding her with indifference, but by inviting her to participate in a narrative bigger than flirtation alone. As life moves forward and faces blur into routine, she searches subconsciously for another like you, a man whose first impression opened a door to greater self-awareness, to challenge, to yearning and possibility. What lingers is never the loudest voice, but the deepest presence. In masculine stillness, in the discipline of restraint, in the courage it takes not to prove, but simply to be, you become unforgettable. He becomes legend in her mind, not through conquest, but through the relentless authenticity he reveals in every first encounter. Each subtle decision radiates the force of a man unswayed by the tides of fleeting approval or external noise. The secret is never a gambit or line, never a trick memorized from fractured scripts of seduction. It is, and always has been, the cultivation of his own interior world, a space of discipline and quiet abundance forged in moments unseen. When a man steps out of the haze of conformity and into the bright tension of his own becoming, he commands the space around him with nothing more than his presence. What stirs within her is fascination, seated by the courage to set standards and the refusal to barter boundaries for fleeting interest. She marks the memory of his poise each time a lesser man clamors for validation. She replays in her mind the sharpened clarity of his attention, how he listened with as much purpose as he spoke, leaving a residue of respect and unspoken invitation. There is no desperation and no attempt to please, only the unshakable self-respect of someone who knows he chooses rather than waits to be chosen. The modern dating stage is a gauntlet of performance and choreography, but his every gesture signals a deeper reality. My value is not contingent on your response. She feels the shift. Far from the crowd of men scrambling to adapt to every mood or whim, he stands silent and observant, as if evaluating which moments are truly worthy of his investment. His stillness is a challenge issued in the language of Stoic greatness. I remain sovereign. She may laugh, test, flirt, retreat, but all along questions form in her mind about the boundaries and standards animating his being. Men of this nature know freedom cannot be loaned out for the promise of female affection. They become arbiters of their own time and guardians of their emotional domain. Each first impression is a natural byproduct of this authenticity, the echo of a life built on principle, not applause. In his detachment, he does not diminish her. He invites her to rise, to bring forth her own substance, and join him on equal terms. The impression he leaves is not a haunting, but an elevation. And as the days grow between encounter and memory, she seeks subconsciously for that sense of gravity, measuring others by the silhouette he left behind. She remembers that first look, the tension that passed unbroken, the intimacy of withheld approval, a challenge and a compliment intertwined. In the lives she continues to meet, she waits to feel that spark again. She yearns not for flattery or performance, but for the certainty of a man who is already complete. So let the world chase applause. Let the masses bend to approval. For the man who sets his standard and lives it unwaveringly, first impressions are not the end, but the beginning of legend. He leaves behind not just memory, but the blueprint for desire itself, a resonance that pulls her deeper, long after words are forgotten and the crowd has faded. The man who knows his worth chases nothing. He attracts everything.